Good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody. My name is Sarah, and we are finally back to redo an old video of mine. Asexual Pride in books. They are rare. I've talked about this before. I want to revisit this video and give you guys more recommendations / TBR of all the books that have asexual characters or someone on the ace spectrum just existing in their universe. Now, forewarning, like all my Pride videos, this is sort of a TBR for me. Majority of these books I either have not read or I have not finished yet. We will talk about that soon. So, like I mentioned before, I did technically do this video before, but that was like more than a year ago, and since releasing that video, it has become one of my most popular videos on my channel. I figured with a new setup, with a new camera, with new lighting, I should probably redo this video and talk about some more asexual pride books that I want to read in the near future. So, with that all being said, let's dive on in. Starting off with the book I am currently reading, and that is A Lady's Guide to Petticoat and Piracy. This is the sequel book to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. That book originally followed our main character Monty as he tours Europe and everything just goes wrong. His sister, who was accompanying him, was the word was never used, but it's very clearly she's asexual. She has that whole conversation. She doesn't want that kind of relationship with a person. Again, this takes place before the word asexual existed, because remember, that word only became in use in 2001. That was when the first time, we can actually point to someone using that word. Since this book takes place in, I think the 1800s, I don't think that word is going to be used. Again, I am currently reading this. I'm loving it so far. I'm going to warn you, the word is most likely not used, but if you know what being asexual means, then you know that this character clearly is. It is tagged as asexual rap, and it is just, yeah. I don't really want to talk about too much what this book is about, because again, it is a sequel, but like I mentioned before, it follows the characters as everything goes wrong on their tour. And the main character in this book, she was along for the ride in that, and she realized even though it is not acceptable for a woman to study medicine, she really wants to study medicine. So this book really follows her trying to achieve her dreams and become a doctor, maybe possibly, or at least put her knowledge to good use. Book number 2 is kind of a given that it has this representation. It has representation for basically everything. And that is All Out, the no longer secret stories of queer teens through the ages. Did I get that right? I think I did. I think I got it. This book is an anthology of short stories taking some of the best authors of YA literature and bringing them together to tell some stories of queer teens growing up in times when that really wasn't accepted. There are a bunch of amazing authors just listed in this. I can't even go over. I haven't even read most of the people on this, and if I have not been paying attention to their names. You guys know me. I really suck at knowing who's the author of my favorite books. So now here's just a list of everyone who's involved in this project. There is so many people, and I recognize most of these names, which is more than I can say for most of the people who I know. Yeah, even in the synopsis, it talks about a transgender Mexican soldier, 2 girls falling in love, mourning the death of some person, forbidden love of the 16th century, or an asexual girl discovering her identity. It's an anthology, so there's a lot of stories being told in this, and there's a lot of representation. The synopsis specifically mentions asexual, so of course I'm going to mention this book. The next book I have to talk about is Daughter of a Burning City. I own this book. I have not read it yet because I failed to bring it with me to college, as you can see. It is not on my beautiful bookshelf. So, I will get to it as soon as I get my hands on the book again. This book follows the main character as she lives sort of in a circus environment. She's capable of creating incredibly realistic illusions that can really just sort of mimic and become a human being. She does not believe they are humans until one of them gets murdered. And now she has to figure out who is killing her illusions, is there anyone after her and her family, and what can be done about it. This book is tagged as asexual. I don't know if it is exactly the main character or if it's one of the side characters. I really hope it's not one of the illusions, because that brings in the whole oh, maybe you're not human after all. I hate that talk in books, and it's so... If the whole concept is, are the illusions human, then can we not add that whole issue in it to add drama? That's gonna suck. I haven't read the book yet, so I cannot justify my strife, but you guys know it better be the main character, or at least a very definitely human character. Because I want this book to be good, because I love stories that deal with illusion and wondering what does it mean to be human. And if there's an asexual character in this book, I really want it to be well represented. Okay, I just checked. It's an asexual demi-romantic, so I don't know which character that is, but that is representation, and it's like, yeah, so I found that at least it is someone. I don't know who, but it is someone. The next book I have to talk about is Coffee Cake. Now, this book is a contemporary male-male romance, but one of the main characters is asexual. And in the synopsis, it's like he doesn't ever expect to find love because he is asexual. It doesn't say anything about his romantic orientation. I am guessing that he is homo-romantic because it clearly states that he ends up having a crush on one of the males in this book. But the way it's phrased in the synopsis is kind of weird. So let me just read this to you. Bran Kendrick never expected to fall in love. He's asexual after all. What chance does he have finding someone who will see past that? So, I'm not entirely comfortable with how that's phrased in the synopsis. Like, if I want good asexual rep, normally that's the kind of synopsis I would avoid, but it has really good reviews, and it just kind of like, it goes on, it's like, oh, maybe there's like a would-be murderer, and like someone's trying to come after him. Someone's trying to take away everything that he has ever held dear. And so, if you look at the cover, clearly it's not going to be that normal cutesy contemporary. There is obviously some death involved at some point. I don't know how explicit that murder is going to be, but I mean, yeah, all the reviews saying it's great. Asexual main character falling in love with someone of the same gender. Always a good. The next book I have to talk about is Whole Metal Girl. Now, this book not only has asexual rep, but also has a romantic, and the main character does wear a hijab. So, points on all the good representation. I'm hoping it's done correctly, but because if you put that much like representation in a character, it can feel really forced. And of course, there are people out there who wear a hijab who are also ace. But when you do that in literature, it can often feel really forced. I'm just hoping that this is done correctly, and it can be a great book, because this is a sci-fi book, and you know how much I love sci-fi. Like, I'm struggling to find a really good one at the moment, but you know how much I love sci-fi. Our main character, she loves her family. She's currently working as a janitor though, so when her brother gets the plague, her salary isn't gonna get him any help. So she volunteers to become an enhanced soldier, destined to protect the government and stuff, and she ends up going on a starship and space and stuff, and there's characters who like have amnesia, or at least don't have the best of memories. And so yeah, it seems like there is like good reviews on this all around. People are saying that it's just like, it's a sci-fi book, so if you're not interested in sci-fi, maybe avoid that. It definitely has some Halo aesthetic to it. So I think that sounds amazing. An aro-ace protagonist is always a win. The next book I have to talk about is Summerbird Blue. This story deals a lot with grief, and even though there's an asexual main character in this book really focuses on what it means to lose someone and being sent away from your home because the person who was taking care of you is no longer around. Our main character was very content never having to answer any questions. She doesn't want to know who she's going to love, doesn't want to know who she's going to grow up to be, but then one day her caretaker ends up dying in a car accident and she's sent away to Hawaii, and there she has to learn to deal with grief. This book does have an asexual character in it, but that's not the focus of the story, as is most of these books. Asexuality is never really put in the forefront of these books. It's just another character trait. This book's main subject is dealing with grief, so that is not a subject you're comfortable with. I wouldn't recommend this book, but again, I'm putting this on my TBR as something I want to read. The next book I have to deal with is an urban historical fantasy. Does that make sense? Hopefully it will soon. The book, The Spy with the Red Balloon. This book follows two of the main characters, and somehow, some way, they learn that they can in fact control magic. The government finds out about this and enlists them to help in World War II, especially along with the whole fact that, hey, America has a brand new super weapon. I don't think that these are American people. Okay, no, I think they are American because they go behind, it says in the synopsis, they go behind German lines to sabotage Germany's nuclear programs. So, you know, if there's magic involved in like historical heists and stuff, that seems incredibly interesting. I think one of the characters is asexual. I don't know if they both are, but it is tagged as asexual. I've been looking for a good historical fiction book to read, and if it's historical fantasy, then that's just all the better. The next book I have to talk about is We Awaken. This book, I believe is not era ace, but it's something on the spectrum of asexuality. This book, essentially, the main character in it, it's not had the best life, okay? Their father died in a car crash. They're not really living a very good existence. And when they slip into their sleep and their dreams, a being comes to talk to them. He encounters another worldly girl in her dreams. She bears a message from Victoria's comatose brother. This being is supposed to be conjuring the pleasant dreams of humans, but the two end up becoming very close. Victoria starts to understand she's asexual, and I think the otherworldly being is also asexual, but if they're not entirely human, not sure how that works, but okay. But yeah, this being is trying to take human form to help Victoria in her day-to-day life. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. I mean, it has good reviews. It sounds really interesting. Mixing sort of the dream element with reality is always something I've been like interested in. Like, it's very hard to get right in books, but it sounds so interesting. I want to add it to this list. The next book I was reading, and then I kind of like put it off to the side. I might pick it up again, but that is Daughter of Smoke and Bones. This book is one of the most like well talked about original life series on BookTube, and this, I believe, has an asexual main character. It does definitely have asexual rep in it. And it deals with, like, what if a demon and an angel have a child? And that happens, and things go wrong very quickly. I've only read the first couple of chapters in this, but it follows our main character. And what I read, she was still going through college and stuff, and she casts, like, these magical powers, and, like, she can, like, have little wishes or stuff. And it's very much, when was this published? Early 2000s, it's very early 2000s book. I'm gonna try to get back to it because I really want to read one of the original books that has asexual representation, but also it's very early 2000s. So, yay? I guess. Our main character has a sketchbook full of creatures and demons, and all her friends, they talk about the creatures like, are they real? Like, oh, how's this guy doing today? Like one of her characters. And those characters may or may not be real. Like, things go out of hand fairly quickly, if that's a good way to put that statement. The last book I have to talk about is His Quiet Agent. This is a sort of an adult romance book. It's about two spies falling in love. One of them just happens to be asexual, and they're trying to figure out how to navigate their spy life along with their romantic and sexual life, with I think at least one of them, maybe two of them, not entirely being comfortable with the idea of having sex. The character that our main character ends up falling in love with, he's really hard and tough on the outside, but on the inside, he's home-cooked meals and sweet boy and stuff. I don't know, I haven't read this yet. It seems interesting, I want to add it to the list, so that's what I did. I believe that is all the books I have to talk about this time, so thank you guys all so much for watching. If you liked this video, go ahead and leave that down in the comment section down below. And while you're there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And as always, good night, good evening, and good morning, everybody.